A chaotic scene at a high school in St. Mary's County when a student opens fire. A slew of police and emergency crews swarmed the area. Police say the shooter is dead and 2 other students are hurt. It happened at Great Mills High School. That's in Great Mills, St. Mary's County. WJZ has a team of reporters covering the school shooting. Let's start with investigator Mike Helgren at the command center at the school with the developing situation. Mike?
Mary, the sheriff spoke here at the command center about several hours ago. He said he's still looking into the relationship between the gunman and the 16-year-old girl who was shot. He's still looking at where the gun came from. As he sees it, there are 3 crime scenes: the gunman's social media accounts, the school, and the gunman's home. Investigators say the shooting at Great Mills High School lasted less than a minute. The shooter, 17-year-old student Austin Wyatt Rollins, ended up dead. His victims included a 14-year-old boy and a 16-year-old girl. The sheriff is investigating his connection to her. Whether the motive was to simply shoot her and that was the motive and no more, we may or may not ever know that. It happened in a first-floor hallway, captured on at least 2 cameras. Rollins had a Glock semi-automatic handgun. The ATF is doing an emergency trace on it.
If you don't think this can't happen at your school, you are sadly mistaken.
An armed school resource officer, Blaine Gaskell, exchanged gunfire with Rollins and is credited with saving lives.
And we have done all that we're supposed to do. We have a fantastic working relationship. We communicate often. It looks as though the SRO did exactly what the SRO is trained to do, and yet we still have tragic loss of life. We still have somebody in critical condition.
Our hearts are broken, and we're extremely saddened.
Governor Hogan says the shooting here shows the urgency needed to pass his $125 million school security bill, which provides more armed officers on campuses, along with panic buttons in classrooms, reinforced doors, and extra investigators to scour social media for threats.
We need more than prayers. I want to thank these first responders and law enforcement officers for the job they did, but we need more. We've got to take action.
Now, the superintendent says the school did not have metal detectors, but that's something he will now be looking into. The 14-year-old who was shot is in good condition. The 16-year-old has life-threatening injuries. Coming up at 4:30, we'll hear from a doctor who treated them both. Reporting live in Great Mills, Mike Helgren, WJZ.
Mike, thank you. Let's turn now to Rick Ritter live in St. Mary's County as well, where a vigil will be held tonight with reaction from parents and students. Rick?
Well, Vic, it was a very heart-wrenching scene to watch play out. You know, parents wondering if their children were okay. We saw a lot of tears, a lot of hugs. This is a shooting that very easily could have been worse. A parent's worst fear became a hard-hitting reality Tuesday as thousands said goodbye to their kids in the morning, only to be dealt the tragic news a short time later.
Just panic. And I didn't think this morning when I woke up, you know, that this would be the circumstance of the day.
After gunfire erupts at Great Mills High School, students are rushed miles down the road to Leonardtown High, where loved ones pack the parking lot waiting to reunite with their children.
I feel sorry for the children who actually are in the hospital, you know, and their parents who weren't able to come get their child because they were at the hospital.
What was an emotional reunion for many as students reflect on the chaos that unfolded inside their halls.
I was in the middle of the hallway, and it sounded like how you would pop a bag, so no one took it seriously.
And the heart-pounding moments of wondering what would come next.
Everyone was running inside a room. We were being yelled at to rush into a room, being pushed.
While parents are left helpless, praying their child wasn't a victim.
Just, you know, my greatest fear is, I can't do this, I'm sorry. My greatest fear is losing my daughter. And you don't know what's going on.
A situation that could have easily been a mass casualty incident. What some thought was never possible in their school has now hit home in Maryland, with both parents and students begging state leaders for change.
Just for you to help us. This is really scary.
And there will be a vigil held here tonight at 6 o'clock at the Church of the Ascension. Obviously a very rough day for this area, this community doing everything it can to band together. I'm Rick Ritter reporting for WJZ, but for now, we'll send it back to you.
Rick, thank you. WJZ has the latest now on this school shooting. A 16-year-old girl and a 14-year-old boy are wounded. The girl is in critical condition. The boy is in stable condition. The shooter is identified as Austin Rawlings. He was hurt in the exchange of gunfire and killed. Detectives are investigating if the suspect targeted the female victim. Great Mills High School will be closed tomorrow. Stay with WJZ for the latest on the investigation into the school shooting, how it happened, and the conditions of the victims.